What is CAPM? CAPM is the abbreviation of Certified Associate in Project Management, a certificate given by PMI, Project Management Institute, to the applicants who fulfill the application requirements first and then pass the CAPM exam successfully. CAPM is one of the most recognized professional certificate for project management profession around the world. Many of the employers seek CAPM certificate in project management positions when they are hiring. Also, they seek this certificate as a prerequisite in their current employers when they are promising their employees to project management positions. Therefore, importance of the CAPM certificate has grown rapidly in recent years. The certificate itself does not prove any competence or experience, but certificate warrants at least a certain level of knowledge on a specific area. However, PMI's application process and audits seek for relevant experience or education requirements to be a CAPM very strictly. Therefore, companies or organizations give very high credit to CAPM certificate compared to other certificates in the industry. We will describe the CAPM certification requirements, step-by-step online application, PMI audit process, and CAPM examination content respectively. In case you will need further information about CAPM certificate, you can navigate to pmi.org/certification/certified associate in project management CAPM.ASPX link. You will find sufficient information and documents about CAPM certificate under this link. Certification requirements. In order to apply for CAPM certificate, you need to have at least secondary degree, for instance a high school or equivalent education level. If your highest attended education level is at least secondary degree in order to apply for CAPM, you need to satisfy one of the following conditions. Either you should have at least 1,500 hours of project experience, or you should have enrolled in 23 hours of project management education. PMI requires only one of these requirements. If you have project experience, enrolling into project management is not mandatory. And similarly, if you have enrolled in a 23 hours of project management education, then 1,500 hours of project experience is not mandatory for applying to the CAPM certificate. Note that project management experience requirement does not seek for active management of a project. Participating in a project environment also counts for this 1,500 hours of project experience requirement. 1,500 hours of project experience makes around 9 months of work, assuming that the average working hours are 180 hours per month. In order to check details of CAPM certification requirements, please check the CAPM Handbook in pmi.org. For 23 hours of project management education of CAPM certificate, you can enroll in our CAPM certification course. CAPM application methods. How to apply for CAPM certificate. If you satisfy the conditions of CAPM certificate, you can submit your application in 2 ways, online or paper. Online application is reviewed in 1 day. There are 2 paths for paper application. If you make your application as an individual by paper, after application is received by PMI, application is reviewed in 10 business days. If your application is done by a corporation by paper, for instance by the institution or education provider, after application is received by PMI, application is reviewed in 20 business days. PMI recommends online application for applicants. because it is easier to evaluate the eligibility for CAPM during submitting your details. Review process is finalized faster in online applications compared to paper applications, and you can track the up-to-date status of your application through pmi.org in online applications. Online application can be started by creating a profile on pmi.org through certification.pmi.org. During the next lectures, how to create your profile on pmi.org and how to apply for CAPM certificate will be described step by step from scratch. If you have already applied for CAPM, or if you already have a profile on pmi.org, you can skip some parts of the remaining lectures. Online application. Create profile. During these lectures, it is assumed that you are completely new to CAPM and respectively to pmi.org. Therefore, applying for CAPM is described starting from creation of a profile in pmi.org. Therefore, first, we need to create a profile on pmi.org by clicking on Create an Account button. Then, you need to fill in your details to create your profile. In this section, optional fields are marked. All other fields are mandatory to create your profile. After you completed your details, click on Submit button to create your profile. If you have submitted all of your details properly, your profile will be created and you will be logged into your profile automatically. In the next lecture, we will start to apply for CAPM. Online application. Personal details. After you created your profile in pmi.org, you will see the status of your account for all certificates provided by PMI. You need to click on Apply for CAPM credential to start your CAPM application. First, you need to add your address information. You can add more than one address, but at least one address is required for application. If you have defined more than one address, please also select the preferred address, since certificate will be sent to your preferred address once you pass the exam. I will add a home address during this application. Therefore, I click on Add Home Address button. Details of your address are defined. Note that mandatory fields are marked with a red asterisk on the left side of the field label. After completing typing details of your address, press the Save button. Since I have submitted my email during creation of my profile, it is already seen as configured and preferred email in this section. However, you can add new email addresses and change your preferred emails whenever you want. Preferred email address is important, because notifications and updates about your application will be communicated through the preferred email address. You need to add also a phone number to your details. To do this, we click on Add Phone Number. After defining phone number, click on Save. And as you see, preferred phone number is also updated in Contact Information section of your application. In order to proceed, press Save and Continue button. Online application. Attained education. In attained education part, the highest level of education attained at the application time needs to be defined. It is better to remind here again that, in order to apply for CAPM, you need to have at least a secondary degree. After you defined your highest education level, click Save and Continue. In the next section, CAPM requirements are reminded before proceeding to eligibility requirements. As mentioned already, in order to be a CAPM, you need to have either 1,500 hours of project experience or 23 hours of project management education. After you finish again the requirements, click on Save and Continue. Online application, PM Experience or PM Education. In order to be eligible for CAPM exam, you need to submit either 23 hours of project management education or 1,500 hours of project experience. I satisfy CAPM requirement by defining project management education. Therefore, I click on PM Education link. To define the project management education you enrolled, click on Add button. Details of the project management education you enrolled are provided in this part. Note that here, two fields might be confusing: hours and qualifying hours. Hours is the total time you spend in hours for the course, and qualifying hours is the qualified hours which can be counted for 23 hours of project management education requirement of CAPM certificate. For instance, if a course includes self-study sessions, these count for total time you spent for the course, but cannot be qualified hours. Therefore, PMI requires 23 qualifying hours from a project management education. Since the project management education I entered has 23 qualifying hours, I already satisfied the project management education requirement and respectively CAPM eligibility requirement. But you might have enrolled in several courses, and if these courses' total qualifying hours also satisfy the project management education requirement of PMI, then you can enter several educations in this part as well until this requirement is satisfied. As you see, Add button is disabled by the application form since PM education requirement has been satisfied already. Note that since I've satisfied the CAPM eligibility requirement, when I click on Save and Continue button, my application will be directed to Review and Submit section in a normal application flow. But since you might want to apply CAPM through submitting your project experiences, during the next slides, I will be showing how to submit your project experiences. Start and end dates of first project experience are filled in with role and industry information. After you filled in your project experience, click Save and Continue button. Details of the organization you had the project experience are submitted. After you've filled in company or organization details that you had your project experience, click on Save and Continue button. A contact person from the organization who can give details or refer that you had the project experience you submitted is provided. After you've filled in contact information from the company or organization who can refer to your experience, click on the Save and Continue button. In this part, you need to fill in how many hours you spend in each phase of your project. PMI does not require a precise hour calculation here. Fill in roughly how many hours you spent for each phase in your project experience. When filling your experience hours, you can assume that 1 month of experience approximately equals to 180 hours of work. After you've filled hours you spent for each phase, click on the Save and Continue button. Here, you need to type project goals and your roles and responsibility in the project experience you filled in. Your entry must be between 300 and 550 characters, and you can see the character count under the left side of the text box where you will be writing. After filled in the box, click on Save and Continue. Online application, review and submit. After project management experience and education requirements are satisfied, optional information is required. You may skip these questions or prefer to answer. Name that will appear on the certificate is defined here. Application form puts automatically your first and last names you defined during creating your profile. If you want a different name to be displayed on your certificate, or if you have additional names, these need to be defined here in this certificate section. After you define the name that will appear on the certificate, approval will be requested. Then, agreement form of PMI is displayed for you to read, and agree before applying. Click on I agree, tick box, and then Save and Continue button. A review of your application is provided, and a confirmation is requested to proceed to your application. A final approval is required to submit your application. And finally, CAPM application form has been submitted. A notification email for the application you submitted is immediately sent to your preferred email address. Online applications are reviewed by PMI in 1 day. You will be receiving notification to your preferred email address about the application process. If you log on to your account in pmi.org, you will be seeing your up-to-date status about certifications and applications. As you see, my application has been reviewed and I am ready for sitting on the CAPM exam. PMI audit process. PMI audits some CAPM applications. This audit is done randomly. If your CAPM application is audited, PMI might require you to provide copies of your diploma or global equivalent. No matter if you have a secondary or four-year degree, if PMI asks for your diploma, you need to provide copies of your diploma to PMI. PMI might require reference letters from your supervisors or managers that you performed the project work you stated in your application. If this is asked by PMI, when asking your supervisors or managers to write reference letters, provide them also what you mentioned in your CAPM application to avoid any inconsistencies between your application and their references. PMI might also require copies of certificates and/or letters from the training institutes for each course recorded in Project Management Education section. If this is required by PMI, provide copies of your completion certificates regarding project management education you enrolled, transcript of the course, which includes the curriculum, and also a letter of enrollment which proves you enrolled in that course. Even if you do not have these, if you contact your education provider, they should provide the information you requested for PMI. After you receive the notification email of PMI regarding supporting documentation about audit, you need to send these documents to the following address of PMI within 90 days. CAPM examination content. CAPM exam includes 150 questions. 15 questions of these questions are not scored, and your score is evaluated over the remaining 135 questions. These unscored 15 questions are randomly distributed to 150 questions, so be careful during the exam that they are not either the first or last 15 questions. Answer all the questions carefully, since each question is a scored question most probably. CAPM exam takes 3 hours to complete, and you have to complete all 150 questions within 3 hours. This CAPM exam blueprint has been taken from CAPM Handbook and depicts the PMBOK5 chapters included in the CAPM exam and distribution of questions to these chapters. These chapters are respectively Chapter 3, Project Management Processes. Chapter 4, Integration Management Knowledge Area. Chapter 5, Scope Management Knowledge Area. Chapter 6, Time Management Knowledge Area. Chapter 7, Cost Management Knowledge Area. Chapter 8, Quality Management Knowledge Area. Chapter 9, Human Resource Management Knowledge Area. Chapter 10, Communications Management Knowledge Area. Chapter 11, Risk Management Knowledge Area. Chapter 12, Procurement Management Knowledge Area. And Chapter 13, Stakeholder Management Knowledge Area.